so I shouldn't have bloody put that frickin' weld through primary. I should have put it on afterwards, but anyway. So instead of it just being welded up that edge, I welded it obviously on here and then over there, just give it a bit more bite. And I've realised that here, this piece touches the backboard over there. I can see there was a wee bit old weld there, so I welded it there, and obviously instead of having the rivet through there, we'll weld it there, and obviously we'll clean it up and make it look like it was always like that. I just think that'll be a bit stronger. It's got a little bit extra meat in there. It was sort of only looked like it only had like half a tack in there. I don't know. I guess it would have been gas welded, I guess. You know, probably would have 2 or 3 tacks in there with a gas weld, probably down there. So we've given that a reasonably decent weld in there with the MIG, and obviously in there. So as long as it doesn't rot away and break away, it should be good. So yeah, well, now we'll get this piece made up. Now that we're finished all this stuff. Righty, so I've got this piece cut out. So this is obviously with the extra on it. Hopefully I've got the measurements right for the distances from here to here. So I measured the distance from here to, from this edge to here, and this edge to here, and knew that measurement was, and I just carried it on. This is a little bit long, we'll have to trim it back, but I just thought we'll leave it long in the meantime. So I've marked obviously those 2 notches, and where there's a rivet was in it, so I've drilled through the panel steel before I cut it. Just got that notch in there, so hopefully that'll give me a good guide to line up, plus these holes obviously. So I've marked on the back side where these bends should start. So I'll put this in here, I'll give this a wee bendy bend, and then we'll have a look and make sure we got our measurements right. Hopefully. Oh, she's a little bit heavy. Doing a piece that long, doing a little short piece wasn't too bad. But with that being 1.6, I think that's probably maximum, probably capable of holding the force on maybe 1 mil, or a wee bit lighter, thereabouts 1.2. It being 1.6 just doesn't like it. It's just forcing it open. That's actually where it, like I think a small hydraulic press or bender or something a little bit more bigger and robust than that. It's alright, a little finger brake for doing modern sort of panel steel like 70s and 60s cars, but this heavier old school stuff here, I'm going to have to do it a bit more manually for some of these bigger bits. But anyway, yeah, the old little finger brake just won't do it, unfortunately. Shame I don't have access to a hydraulic bender like I used to have, but you know, this will do. We'll wang it across around here. It's on the inside, so you're not going to see it. But I know this is 2 mil, isn't it? Yeah, this is 2 mil. Sorry, yeah, no wonder it wouldn't bend it. Maybe the 1.6 might be alright. Yeah, this is 2 mil. That's no wonder it struggled. I forgot about that. Right, so we're obviously kind of miles away here, but that doesn't matter. At least I know this here works pretty good. Bending it, a couple of heavy pieces of angle iron actually work quite well, and I just realised that there is a I do have 2 big long, don't know if you can see down there, there's a couple of decent lengths of angle iron, the same as basically what I've used. I'm not sure how long they are, but it looks like they're long enough, or might be long enough, to help me bend those bits. You know, just clamp them up with, and I'm not sure, I might jiggle all the on these vices around over here. A few clamps and bits and pieces. I don't know, it might be too big a distance, but if I can get the jaws of these to line up, half ply, I might better clamp the the 2 bits angle on and these two vices, even though they're different levels, doesn't matter. We can just taper it down one down to the other, so if we get them to line up, and use that and maybe a couple of clamps in the middle to get it to bend some of the heavier stuff and at a decent length. So that might be handy. I'm not sure quite where we're going in here, but you know what I mean. Like that's a big long. If we can get these 2 bends, because it should be straight. So if we can get those 2 bends, using those 2 bits of angle on, the rest of it is just cut to shape, if you know what I mean. And a few slices and dices and a bit of a bend around down here. Muck around all that. I'll have to probably cut and weld that to make that fit in there on that side. If I replace that whole section, which I will, there's no point with all the holes in it. May as well get it out of the road and do the whole section, replace it all, because it creeps around the corner in quite a few places. So yeah, we'll do that. But yeah, that might be just long enough to get me through that, which would be awesome. But anyway, so we're close here. So those bits line up. Look like we're about the right place. So we're just going to do some trimming here, obviously underneath. We'll trim this off about here. Let's just get this in the right place. So you'll trim this off about here to here, roughly. We'll square that up in a minute. Obviously that's fine, but what I might do is just poke this up from underneath, and we'll just trace around what we consider C to get a rough guide, and see if we can get this at least fitting. And we'll give it a clean up, and we'll blow a little weld through primer on it, hopefully before I get picked up for lunch, and then we can weld it in after lunch, and then we can make the outside skin. Yeah. Awesome. Right, we'll get this trimmed up and sorted, and we'll come back to you. Right, so finally finished all this. I actually added, welded to here, to this piece here, an extra bit on here. I cut it short, but then I thought, well, maybe it's meant to go underneath this tab underneath here, because it was quite a distance down. So I welded a piece on that, and I've drilled holes through here and holes through here down to the next layer. So I've got that ready to go. Obviously trimmed out these bits so it all lines up, so all that there is welded in, and then burning some good heavy spot welds. I can leave a little bit high or whatever. So I'm just going to blaze a bit of weld through on there. Let that dry over lunch. Do the same on here. Let that dry till after lunch. And then we will slide it on there and glue her on. And that should be that bit done, and we're just going to, all we do is finally get the skin on. And then we'll tack that after. Alrighty, so I still haven't got this piece on, but I'm basically ready to go. That shit's freaking hard to work with. Just to try and get it shape, get a bit of shape in it, without being dead flat, you know what I mean? I was sitting there to trim it away and cut it away and work out where it needed to be. Drilling some holes in it, I was just going to trim. Now, on here I drew a line on here before I drilled. I worked out where it was roughly riveted or spot welded on before. So down here where we did the big plug welds through there, I've drilled more holes in here. I might actually grind these down a little bit. So I'll weld back on top of them again through here. And then I've added an extra couple of holes. And then there's another one of those sort of rivets that was in here somewhere, which I've welded over top of. We'll just we'll plug that back in there, and then obviously weld down the seams and whatever. Obviously stop heat welding here because it's sort of like an open seam here, but this will go all the way up to here and then work across this edge like it should have been, I think, originally. I've been just welding up this edge, hard to tell. It's a bit broken, but I might just weld it across there anyway. It'll be a bit tidier. Make it a bit tidier. I might put a little patch in this corner actually. Just looking at it. Yeah, I might just put a little patch in there. We'll just try and weld it up. Hopefully there'll be enough meat in there, I think, that I can weld it up and grind it back out. Kind of. So yeah, it's kind of where we're at. So I'm just going to trim down here and probably a bit more of a trim down here. Just get everything fit and properly clean up these edges a wee bit. Put a bit of weld through on here. The rest of it we should be able to get to. Some paint just, in between these white welders. So I'll put a bit of weld through on there. And we'll go from there. So I think I'll cut this off, grind these down a little bit, and spray this through. The can fell off down here somewhere earlier. There. Spray a bit of weld through on there. I don't think I'll buy this again. It's better than nothing. Just it's splatter it. You try to weld. But it's worse than some of that stuff. I didn't use. What did I use? What did I use that? I was in Australia. No, I used Dymark weld through. Similar. It wasn't as splattery as that when you're welding, if you know what I mean. I'll get that cut off and we'll grind those. I'll grab a shears a little bit lower. Right, we'll try this again. Need to have a look at the phone to make sure it was pointing in the right direction before I frickin' started recording and whatever, and fucking phone's trying to ring. I don't hear it, it's frickin' grinding and frickin' earplugs in and shit. Oh, I've packed up for the day. So I might come back down Sunday and try and finish this off. Got another car show I want to go to tomorrow, being Saturday, obviously. So it's the, well, you're going to see this after that anyway, but it's the Motoring Mad one that I probably would have put up before this comes out. Yeah, maybe. What's today? Yeah, possibly. Might see this before, almost. Oh no, this will be coming out Monday if this is in the next video. We'll see what happens. And this might be even in the video after that. So got one coming out tomorrow, and then I got another one partly done. I've got to finish editing, which some of today's footage may end up in, don't know. But yeah, anyway, so you'll probably come on Sunday, we'll see, and weld this in. Obviously weld that in properly. Just took longer than I thought. That 16 gauge is fairly tough to work with. Like the 19 is pretty reasonable to work with. It moves fairly easy. This takes a bit of moving. So yeah, we'll see how we get on with that big heavy stuff. With that frickin' 2mm even worse. This would kind of bend in the bender, but I put it in the vise with 2 bits of angle on to try and finish it off, and then I run it in the English wheel a little bit to try and get it to just kind of relax into a bit of a shape. Just put a little bit of a gentle curve in it. I think it moved a little bit. I didn't play with it too long, just enough to maybe try and get it to radius a little both ways. To manipulate, just so it wasn't dead flat, if you know what I mean. Because sometimes when it's dead flat and you put it in, it's quite noticeable if it hasn't got a little bit of shape in it. So it should just have just a gentle curve, and hopefully it looks alright when I get it. When I have a better look at it once I've got it welded in and cleaned up. But I think I've got a little bit of curve in it that way and a little bit of curve in it that way, just to help blend it in. But yeah. So we'll get that welded in, and then we'll carry on with that probably Monday. I'll just come down and finish this off. Plug weld it all in, whatever. So that hole there, I think, should be for the body mount bolt. I'm not 100% sure. I think that's what that one's for. This slot here. Or it may be in the... Oh, I can't remember. It might even be in here somewhere. I can't remember. Don't know. Is that many freaking holes in this thing? Hard to tap. Might be in that one. So I know there's another hole in under here, I think. There's another hole under here, which I can punch out. That's why I've marked it. Not that you're going to see it once you'll probably weld it and ground it off, but I may just put a pilot hole through here so if we have to open it up. I just can't remember. Once we get the chassis back, I can have a bit of a measure and then work out where some of these are meant to be. Obviously I can work it out from the other body holes as we go. So yeah, I think it's, because that should be that one. Yeah, I think it's that one. I think it's that one, but I'm not 100% sure. That might be the cross member bolt hole. That might be a hole for to allow that bolt or some of that bolt to sit in. I can't remember. I think the rest of it will be all plug welds. I'll try and make these two look like kind of like rivets. It probably doesn't really matter, to be honest. And that one and these ones should just be plug welded, just be like spot welded. Yeah, and then we'll do the same over there. But I think we'll do this first. And not sure, might do that and then maybe move it over that side, and obviously around the back. But yeah, at least we're heading in the right direction. We're getting rid of less holes. Right, how you going, guys? So welcome back again. So I've actually been working on this for the last day and a half. Wiring loom finally turned up for it, so but that's going to be on that video. Hold on, I need a drink. But anyway, I'm going to get back into this, get this patch welded in, and the right bottle here. Make sure I'm not drinking friggin' prep wash or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, we'll get this welded in, and then we'll carry on with some other stuff. Righty, so I've got that all welded in. I've got a couple of little pinholes to fix, but minor stuff. Try to get it as clean down here as I possibly can. Very awkward because that's a separate piece. I mean, it's meant to be tucked in behind it like the rest of it, obviously. Up here I've tried to get this pretty clean. I don't know if this is meant to be welded onto here, but I did. It's kind of, don't think it's meant to be, but I'm going to. It's kind of hard to tell because this is all broken and bent and split. I think it probably wasn't originally, but I'm going to just for extra bit of strength. So that's good. I'm going to harp by regional clean up on the inside. Obviously I can't get into this piece, so it's very awkward to do, but I've knocked the rest of the shit, and obviously, you know, you can see there's a couple little pinholes there to get now that I've ground all the excess off. I can see them, so that's cool. I was giving a little bit of hammer and dolly just to try and get where it was a little high and low, just to, like, obviously difference, you know. It's obviously not impossible to get it dead flat, but sometimes you just don't quite get it 100%. Yeah, 90% of the time you probably just don't get it 100% dead on. I guess it just depends on sometimes of the tools you've got and whatever. And if I had a couple of big C clamps, I probably would have clamped a couple over and just helped to get it to butt up even better. I tried to get it to tweak to line up, but it's not that bad. You know, it's a minor skimmer filler now. Maybe a little bit of hammer and dolly work just to get it to smooth out better, but it's going to be just a little fine skim. It's going to be way better than what it was on there before. So I'm pretty happy with that at the moment. I might just tack up those couple of marks, but I think we'll come along to here now and we'll cut this down. I don't know, we'll cut it here, about here anyway. You can see some holes here. So I like to go at least an inch past where I can see at least holes, so you might end up with something solid, because guarantee you every time, especially if you get a real rotten piece, kind of like what this is, you know, you cut a piece away and you're trying to get it close, you guarantee it's always way further past that in the inside, you know, and thin and scabby. You can guarantee it every time. So at least an inch sometimes is where you got to go. It just depends on the piece, but it's a good rule of thumb. So I'm going to cut it down about here somewhere, cut it off and see what it's like underneath, and hopefully we can just bend up a quick piece and weld it on there and a few plug welds and be done with it. But we won't find out until we get it off, you know. Who knows what's going on behind. It doesn't look that bad, but you don't know, you know, when it was like that down there and all this shit that I'd replace. You know, you can see what it was like over the other side, so it could be borderline, but not rotten, but is rotten in there. We'll find out when we dig it off. So I think I'll tack up these extra couple of holes, get them quickly knocked off, and then we'll chop that off and we'll carry on. Righty, so I haven't finished those pinholes yet because I got talking to Arco, so I thought I'll quickly chop this off and have a quick look. So yeah, this is what's underneath here. So we'll give this a wee clean up with the wire wheel and just see what this is like. So this runs all the way through, obviously. So it's only a bit of a skin. So as long as this is okay and hasn't got any great holes in it, we'll just get another piece and weld on top. But looks like it's got a bit of weld, bit of rust jack in here too, so we might have to just make sure there's not too much shit jammed in there, if you know what I mean. In there, so we'll give this a quick clean up, and we'll throw a decent wire wheel on a grinder and give it a freaking really good clean up, and give it a bit of a bout with the hammer and so we can knock some shit out of it and see what it looks like, and quickly put a patch on if it looks alright, put a bit of weld through on there, and yeah, put it back on. I don't know if it was welded on here anywhere or not, but it was fuck all holding it on. It just fell off once I'd sort of cut it and broke the edges away. I think it was just rust holding it on there, making it stick. So you know, we'll give it a clean up and we'll come back. Right, so I've cleaned this back. It's pretty, it might be okay. It's got a hole there, but you can see in there, there's quite a bit of build up of rust in there. So I'll cut this off. I've got to drill 2 spot welds, I think. We should be able to pop that piece off and at least have a look in there. And if it seems to clean up okay, we can treat it. You know, we might have to weld a couple patches, but I think we're going to end up having to put a section in here as well. Probably the end of the day, I probably should replace the whole thing, but I probably might get away with just a couple of patches in here. It is what it is. What do you do about it? You know, it's got to be sorted. Otherwise, it's just going to become a problem later on down the track. You know, you could have just tacked up those few holes and been done with it. You know, but I guarantee, 2 years later or 3 years later, you get it out in a bit of weather and a bit of moisture, and all of a sudden that rust just takes off, and next thing you know, you're broken out rust again. So yeah, we've definitely got some issues going on in there. So we'll draw a couple of holes, get these spot welds, one there and one there that I can see. I'll just go with a quick scuff back with the roll wrap lock, whatever you want to call it. Might be 3 there, might be one there too. Just trying to see them all. Might be another one there too. So we'll get that undone at least, and we can get it off. Have a good look, see what's going on, and do any repairs if we need to. And I guess if we have to go further that way and that way, we can. Not that I really want to, but it just shows, it doesn't look anywhere near as bad as that side, but still takes work to fix it. Yep. Just, you never know what you're going to find, eh? Like, it didn't look that bad. A couple of little patches on the outside of that piece, we're going to put a new skin on it, but it's fairly hammered. So I think what we'll do is we'll cut it off through here. We'll give this a decent clean up. Doesn't look too bad up here. Like, it's a little bit thin in places, but it's not. That looks fairly solid. So I think we'll snip it off through on this edge up to here somewhere, and along here, and we'll put a new piece in here. Obviously we'll have to put a little bit of that kick in it like we did with that other bit down there, but at least when we get this off, we can have a bit more of a look at some of this understructure, make sure that's okay, and go from there. Like, you never know, eh? Like, you take this bit off and you think, oh yeah, it's just a couple of holes in there. Oh, okay, yep, wasn't that good underneath there, and then you clean that up and you think, yeah, that looks alright, looks fine. But then when you realise how much rust jacking was in it, you think, oh, no, better have a look underneath there, and good thing we did. No, you just fucking never know. So yeah, if it looks like there's something expanding with rust, like it was quite bad in that one spot, it's easy to cut it off and weld it on. Now, if you cut it off, pick a couple of welds, it's not hard to burn that back on. If it's fine underneath there, and you have to give it a bit of a clean up and put a bit of weld through protection on it, and weld it back on. At least you know it's right. But if you pull it off and you find that, well, what else do you find? You just got to keep going sometimes. We'll cut this out and we'll come back to you again. Right, yeah, back at you again. So, got that off. That's pretty hammered. The rest of it looks okay. It's a bit pitted. I think it'll be fine though. That's nothing major, but I need a new air fitting for my hose. I had one flying around, and I put that on it, and then I realised why it wasn't on it, because it's the centrepiece doesn't frickin' stop the air from not coming if I disconnect. So yeah, it's like a wee while ago I wondered why it kept disconnecting every now and again, but the spring in it's lost all its tension, and it just won't hold the fucking die grinder on, or the right angle. You just won't hold any of these on. They just, you use it or turn it or jiggle it and it pops off, so it makes it awkward to give this a decent clean up. So we better go get a couple of air fittings, and I need one for the bottom of my gun, spray gun. So I'll grab one of those while I'm at it, and then you will come back and attack this. I'll check the time by the time I go buy a couple of fittings and whatever, because I can carry on, but I can't carry on. I want to use that. I could throw that on there and give it a decent grind up, but yeah. But so I can at least get some rust protection back in there, give a decent clean up, and then we can start building patches. That there I can probably clean up and just put back on it. It's pretty much good. It's fine. Like, I think a wee bit of a clean up, it'll be fine, and put a bit of welder on it. It just seems to be where it got in between, you know, and just screwed this piece for some reason. I'll have to have a decent look at this. I think this is okay. It's a bit thin in places, but I think it'll be okay. It's still fairly solid. And everything else looks okay. I don't see any other major issues, if you know what I mean. Apart from a bit of pitting. But it's still generally pretty solid. I could possibly cut this piece off here and just weld it along there and just put a slightly cleaner piece in, because there is a few places where it is, there's some pretty big. I might do that. Just cut it out in between these. It looks fairly good over here. Just to get rid of some of these other dirtier patches, but yeah, we may do that. It might be worth it for extra 5 minutes of welding, if you know what I mean. But anyway, we'll go get some air fittings and yeah, we'll go from there, I guess. Alright, so yeah, I decided I might call it here for this video. It's about 4:30, so I'll go grab a couple of fittings and whatever, and we'll call it this the end of the video. Obviously we've got a bit of video coming up on the Dodge as well, not the Dodge, the Studebaker with wiring. Hopefully I'll get a few odds and ends in the morning. My owner was going to go on and get some stuff, so hopefully we might carry on with that again in the morning, and then jump back onto this in the afternoon so we can get this piece tidied up here, and then it'll be the front side part of this sort of sorted until we obviously get into that back wheel arch piece, and that's going to be a bit more complicated. We'll start picking that apart and see where we go, see how we're going to attack that. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, share and sub if you so desire. Plenty more videos coming up on this and rust repair and building pieces and panels and whatever. It's going to be quite a journey. I should have a strinker stretcher and a bead roller here shortly too, to help me do some of the stuff. I used to have a bead roller, but not here, it was in Tasmania. And I've never had a shrinker stretcher, so that'll be really handy for some of the stuff, especially around the wheel arches and bits and pieces. There'll be a bit of shrinking in there to do, gathering up, so depending on what I have to do to fix that stuff. So anyway, we'll see you tomorrow in the next video, whether it's back on this or that. It's probably going to be that by the time I get through some of this, get that sorted. I think that'll be the next one after this one. So anyway, we'll catch you later on. Cheers, thanks for watching.